Welcome back to the Piping Pastor. Well, today I thought we'd get back into our Poetry in the Bible series by reading a combination thereof in David's Crown. Well, first of all, I got my stem remade for my little Admiral pipe here. Boswell's did this for me. I brought this into the Alexandria store a couple weeks ago. And you can see it's a bright, beautiful new stem and fits perfectly flush, nice and tight. They did a great job with it. And I'm very happy because I really enjoyed this pipe and it's really old and I like the history of it. So I was happy to get it back to be able to smoke it again for hopefully, another 50 years. And they were great about it because I dropped it off and I'd hoped to go back in person. Wasn't able to, just busyness kind of got a hold of me. So I called them, I was like, can you just ship it to me? And they were happy to. They boxed it up and sent it. And, Bob's your uncle. I got the pipe back. In it, I am smoking Railroad Station, the Boswell tobacco I picked up while I was there. And it's really nice. For those of you who like Northwoods but wish it had a bit more of a punch, this is definitely your blend. It's a little heavier on the Latakia. It's Latakia, Black Cavendish, and Virginias, and it's a bit stronger than Northwood. So, I mean, it's not like a full-on lap bomb. I wouldn't even classify it as strong as Pirate Cake, but it is a bit stronger than Northwood. So, goes great with coffee. And the cold brew pitcher is back out. So it's up 88 degrees in Maryland this weekend. So yeah, it was definitely time for some cold brew. Speaking of cold brew, Pipe Week coming up, and I think that's a wonderful thing that Flat Cap Piper does. And I got to experience it first time last year during the award ceremony, everything leading up to it and so forth. Didn't really get to participate much. Didn't even get to dial in for the live because I was working at the time. But this year, hopefully, I'll be able to. We should be into the new house by then. So I'm planning on doing a video on tobacco and beverage pairings, non-alcoholic beverage pairings. I know many of us in the YTPC are coffee drinkers, but there's various different grades and strengths of coffee and grinds of coffee that offer different flavor profiles, and I think some pair better with different tobaccos than others. And then there's other hot beverages as well, and cold beverages as well. As an example, Peter Stokkebye's Luxury Twist Flake goes great with hot apple cider. So I'm hoping to be able to go through and do some of those. I might, create like a graphic or something else as a special little video for Pipe Week to put out there, and more of an instructional kind of video. And so hopefully you all will be able to participate in that as well. And I plan on voting. I was happy that some of the beards that I was thinking of were the most impressive got nominated, and it's going to be an interesting contest. Because there's some nice ones out there. I would love to know what kind of beard products Israel uses, because I had a long beard at one point, and to get mine just to lay straight at all took a lot of effort. So I mean, his is sculpted, and it's probably just all natural. It's all the prayer. It just keeps him straight. Anyway, on to the video for today. I did a video last week, pardon me, on the speech by Harrison Buckner, and it created some conversation. A lot of people sharing views, and some of the views went back and forth and got, I think some people got a little fired up, which is fine. Anger's not a bad thing. Jesus got angry. Anger is appropriate on occasion. If it's managed appropriately, So I had some comments back and forth, and and there were some responses here and there, and some people, I was like, okay, well, yeah, it's your view is your view, and you're welcome to it. But it got me thinking. Oftentimes, we see videos, not just in the YTPC, but on YouTube in general, where people are angry or upset about something and they do a video about it, which therapeutically speaking, that's a good thing, right? When you're angry or upset, you should talk it out, right? Talk it out, write it down, that kind of thing. Work out your feelings to understand them better. But then it ends up, angry videos, people are all fired up, they get more hits, it creates more conversation, and people end up focusing on those types of videos. Angry or indignant, and and certainly political climate, at least in the United States, kind of thrives on that. Us against them, and all the vitriol that goes back and forth. We saw it played out on Capitol Hill in the United States here recently. Our congresspersons, the representatives of our government, descended into name calling like they were a bunch of 12-year-olds on a playground. It was really kind of sad. But I was thinking about that as I was reading through my David's Crown book here. For those of you who are unfamiliar, it's Malcolm Guite's book, and he wrote it as a corona during the lockdown of the coronavirus. So a corona is where the last line of the preceding poem leads into the first line of the poem following it. Not only did he write this as a corona, he did it with all the Psalms. So starting from Psalm 1, going all of the entire book of Psalms, written as a corona poem. So it's a beautiful book. It's wonderfully well written. Really lets you know why this gentleman is a master of his craft. But I was here reading through this, and I got to the poem he wrote for Psalm 79. So without further ado, he pulled me through with patient tenderness, and now I need his patience in my soul. For now I feel the force of wickedness, and fear the worst of us will take control and make a ruination of the best, as long as this trial and crisis takes its toll. The psalmist also faced this deadly test, so many dying every day, no space, or even time to bury them, pressed on beyond what's possible. We face our dark dilemmas every day. We choose for one another life or death. We race against the clock, and still we fear to lose the lives we seek to save. O Jesus, hear our sighs and pleas, and bring us swift release. So that's kind of what I was talking about here. For now I feel the force of wickedness, and fear the worst in us will take control. Because that's the easy thing for us to do, right? I mean, and that, by the way, that is Psalm 79. That's his poetic representation of it. So I encourage you to read it, look up Psalm 79 and read it. But that's essentially what he's talking about there. Like us, our human nature, it's a lot easier for the wickedness in us to take control. It's a lot easier for the anger to take control, anger over charity, for most of us in any case. To look at a situation and be indignant about it, or be angry about it, and shake our fist in rage. But that can be the worst in us taking. As I said, anger is not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself, right? If it's in its appropriate place, in its appropriate usage, and within its appropriate limitations, just as Christ was angry at times. But when it takes control of us, that's when the wickedness seeps in. It prevents us from seeing each other in love and serving each other in love. So don't focus on the wickedness. Don't focus on the rage and the anger and the indignance, and the difference in opinion, just getting your dander up and wanting to throw in a fight. When someone says something or does something that you're like, it makes you angry, stop it for a second and think, okay, how can I best love this person? How can I see joy in this situation, right? Someone I may have a difference of opinion with, and the first thing they say or the group of words that they say, I'm like, how could you even think that? That's nonsense, right? Rather than look at that person the way that Christ looks at them. And like it says in the Psalm, and like Malcolm points out in his poem, it's not something we can do on our own. If we could do it on our own, we wouldn't need Jesus, right? So that's when we have to really seek out that divine intervention. We really have to seek out that relationship that we can have with the Lord and say, look, Lord, I cannot look at this person in love right now. I need you to help me. I need you to be in me so I can see them the way you see them. And then instead of anger, we can have joy. That's a much better place to be. Well, that is it for this time. My next video, probably going to be on the back porch, because hopefully over the next week or so, we'll get all this stuff packed up. or the movers will get all this stuff backed up. So I may be outside for the next video if I can get one in. Hopefully I can. If not, then I'll definitely get one done for Pipe Week in the new house. So we'll be able to see the new setup, which probably just look a lot like this, but we'll see. I'll be in El Paso, Texas, so my entire setup may be outside. It may be outside the whole time, but we'll find out when we get there, I suppose. So in any case, until then, I hope you have a lovely week. As always, happy reading.